Hi, this is Naomi Zeman, your hostess today on Channel 10 Public Access Television, here at the Capitol of the United States of America on this exciting day in October 1993. Although it's October, 200 years ago in 1793, on September 18th, our great President George Washington laid the first cornerstone for this great capital of the United States. One of the most magnificent buildings, and I think the most magnificent building in the world, architecturally and in strength. For in this building, it shows that freedom reigns free. And today, commemorating this holiday, and you can hear all the commotion maybe around me, we are going to be putting up the return of the great Statue of Freedom. I understand that you are the authority on the Statue of Freedom.
We've been doing a lot of research for the conservation project, so I think I know it very well at this point, inside and out.
Then will you go ahead and tell me all about that beautiful lady?
She was put up on top of the Capitol on December 2nd, 1863, during the Civil War. She was designed by an American sculptor who was working in Rome. His name was Thomas Crawford, and he was asked to design the statue shortly after Congress approved the construction of the new cast iron dome, which you see now on top of the Capitol. He decided to do a figure of liberty. He went through several designs, but ended up with a statue with a helmet rather than the traditional liberty cap.
Now, is it true that this goes back to Jefferson Davis having something to do with that hat?
Well, he did, because he was at that time the Secretary of War, and he was in charge of the construction of the Capitol. And so he just didn't like the liberty cap. He thought that it wasn't really American, and he said in some of his letters that Americans hadn't been enslaved. He didn't think it was an appropriate symbol, even though it was very commonly used. So Crawford willingly changed the design and designed this very unusual helmet, which has stars around it, an eagle's head and feathers on top, and eagle talons hanging down on either side of her face.
How much does she weigh?
She weighs about 15,000 pounds. In fact, I was hoping we could put her on a scale right before we put her back up, but they weren't able to do that. But we weighed her when they were jacking her up, and it's about 15,000 pounds. She's made of bronze, and she's hollow. Bronze is cast so that it's only about half an inch thick.
What about the robe? Isn't there something special about her robe that she wears?
Well, it's an unusual robe, and I haven't figured out exactly where Crawford got the idea. It's almost like a big bathrobe or something.
And what is she holding in her hand? It looks like a wreath.
She's holding a wreath, which is the symbol of victory, and a shield with 13 stars and stripes, which is the shield of the United States, in her left hand. In her right hand, she has a sword in its sheath that shows that she's ready to fight if necessary.
And the reason they had to take her down, what was that reason?
Well, there were a number of reasons. We first started finding out there were some problems with the bronze statue and its cast iron pedestal in 1988. Then in 1991, we did a very thorough study with conservators and structural engineers. And the recommendation at the end of this intense study was that if we took her off, we could best conserve her to take care of the problems between the statue and the base. There was a crack in the pedestal, and to really thoroughly get to every inch of the sculpture.
Was there an interesting story on her journey? Wasn't she sort of formed in Rome and brought here in boxes and...
Right. Well, a sculpture she was first made in clay, and then that was cast in plaster, but it was cast in 5 main sections. And then those sections were crated up. The artist died before this happened, and his widow had to make the arrangements to ship the statue. But the little boat that it was on started leaking, and they stopped and put in for repairs, and then it started leaking again and finally was condemned. And luckily the crates survived and were left in Bermuda, And some of them went on one ship and some on another, and it took a long time, but luckily they all ended up in Washington. And then after a while, starting in 1861, they were cast in bronze right at the edge of the city of Washington on Bladensburg Road by Clark Mills.
And another point, isn't there something about she was quite a bit taller than she was supposed to be?
Right. Well, we knew that from the records because Crawford was asked to design a 16-foot statue. He didn't think it was tall enough, and he wrote that in his letters. He thought it needed to be taller. But when it actually got here and the architect saw that it was 19 and a half feet, he used it probably partly as an excuse, too, to redesign the dome. He had some new ideas for it, and so he completely revised the design for the dome. But I think that what that shows is that the statue is an integral part of the proportions of the dome, and that's why it looks so strange now with the statue off.
Well, it's going to be very exciting to see her put up. Did you see her taken down?
Oh, yes. I was right here. Same spot.
Same spot. And you're going to be with us to see it coming down, put up again.
Well, I'll be here for sure, right? Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you about that and telling us all about the statue. But you also are an authority on the Capitol, and I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, when George Washington laid the cornerstone, there was only a trench here. In 1793, there were very few people even living in Washington. It was kind of a wilderness. They had to have something finished by 1800.
Before you go a little further, there's a question I really want to know. What were the people doing? There was no capital, and everybody was meeting in all these different states. How did they come to a conclusion with the law if there wasn't a capital?
Well, they had passed an act. The Congress had passed an act that the Congress would move to Washington by the year 1800. And they finally compromised and decided to have the capital city here. And so that's why they needed to really hurry and build something, because it was politically controversial. Some people didn't want to move to Washington. So it was very important to get something built by 1800 so the Congress could physically move here. All they got built by 1800 was a little section, this side between the dome and the pediment that you see here. That one little section in 1800 is where the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court and the district courts and the Library of Congress were all housed.
Crowded, wasn't
now
it?
There's about 20 buildings that house those things.
Well, and it was burnt?
During the War of 1812, actually in August 1814, the British invaded the city of Washington and they burned the White House and the Capitol. So they burned a lot of the interior, and that had to be rebuilt. But at that point, there were only two little wings built. The center part had not been built yet.
It's hard to really realize that each different few 50 years the hot water came in or electricity. Can you tell me something about that?
Well, the building did sort of grow in stages. It's still growing. Just recently in January, some additional rooms were built in the Capitol. It's never really stopped being built. When people say, when was the Capitol finished, you really can't say that because it's constantly being changed. But the initial small building was finished in 1829. And then in the 1850s, they needed to expand. So they added the wings, the two wings, the House and Senate wing that you see now, and then the dome. Later in the 1950s, late 1950s, the East Front was extended. In the 1980s, we preserved the West Front and so forth. So everything's been in stages. As new technological things came in, the Capitol was really at the forefront. For example, when the wings were being built, the engineer in charge, Captain Montgomery Meigs, was also working on the aqueduct system. So he brought running water to the Capitol, and there were actually bathtubs put in for the senators and the congressmen because there wasn't running water anywhere else in town at that point. They also put in gas, natural gas system in the Capitol. Later, in the end of the 19th century, early 20th century, then they started electrifying the Capitol almost before any of the other buildings.
And now they have all these electronic voting. So what are some of the newest things that they have?
Probably one of the newest is having the House and the Senate televised so that people all over the country can see it. And they're doing things with fiber optic cables and so forth. You know, the communication systems are being upgraded all the time now with computers and things like that.
And what a type of building is this? Is Greek architecture?
Well, it's classical, so it's based on ancient Greek, and really Roman. The first dome for the Capitol was based on the Pantheon, which is a temple in Rome. The dome that you see now goes back to, for example, St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome, which is like a Renaissance, or St. Paul's in London, and particularly the Pantheon in Paris was an inspiration for it. So it's classical. You have columns and the triangular pediments and the dome and so forth. They're all classical elements that originally go back really to Greece and mostly to Rome.
tell me a little bit about your working there and how you feel about that.
Oh, it's an exciting place to work, and you have a sense in my office we're really concerned about the history of the building, preserving the art for the future, preserving things like the Statue of Freedom, also trying to do research on the history of the building and the art in it, and there's a lot still that needs to be done on that.
Well, Barbara, I know a lot of people on Public Access Channel 10 are going to be really excited learning all these facts today, and I want to thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, and enjoy your day, the rest of it. Okay, now we're going to be going to the liftoff. There she goes. She's going up. Quite impressive sight. You can see the rope hanging down. I understand that they did a run-through last night on this. And they lifted her up perfectly, so let's hope they do it again. The cradle designed to remove Freedom will be used. The lifting ring connected at the base to enable it to be lifted in one piece will remain in a permanent part of Freedom. You can see the wind coming from it, blowing the people all around. They're hanging on to the ropes. They're going to attach it momentarily to the base of the statue there. She hasn't moved yet. She's just standing just as proud as can be. Can you hear me? I don't know. That helicopter's so loud and it's blowing. Sort of tipping back and forth. I guess it's getting ready to pull it. There she goes. Yeah, there she is. She's going up, 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 up and away. Whoa! Isn't that pretty? Now the dangerous part is coming because they're going to take her over to the scaffolding. Once Freedom is hovering over the Capitol, this is the dangerous part. She'll be carefully lowered through the scaffolding, and two devices will be there to help align it. The devices are an alignment cone made of tube steel is attached to the pedestal. The second apparatus is a small piece of tube steel connected to the interior of the lifting ring. Okay, now they're going to be doing that, and the men are waiting up there for her. She's coming down so gracefully, just like a lady. Here comes Freedom. She's gonna return. She's coming, coming. Almost down. Won't be long now. She's gonna touch base in about a minute. They have to make sure she's in the right place, so they're just watching her. Here she comes. There she goes. That's it. Oh, she's bouncing a little bit. They're lowering her down. She's guided down towards the proper position. The meshing device is there. She's being lowered by the engineers. They're guiding her so that the piece of tube rests alongside the alignment cone. This will guide the statue down to the proper position so the bolt lines hold up. Once freedom is on the pedestal, the engineers may need to make some final adjustments for the statue's position. That's what they're doing right now. They're realigning her and bolting her down. But she looks nice and safe up there, all cradled. They haven't let go of her yet, so she's not quite secure. Everybody's sort of holding their breath down here. Oh, it looks like they're letting go. For sure, they're not going to take any chances. They don't want to have to do this again. There it goes! Yay! It's going! It's done! She's done. They're waving to us. And we're all going to wave back. Great job, guys! That's it! Congratulations to the pilot, to all you great guys up there doing the job. Here comes the helicopter back for its landing. We hope to go and interview the pilot when he lands. I bet he's one happy pilot. There he comes. It's sort of interesting how that just dropped off. Some of the wires that they had. Now he's going to come on down. Perfect landing. And a lot of happy people here saying happy birthday to the capital of the United States. Our crowning glory. Well, what'd you think of that? What'd you think?
Fine.
Was that exciting? Not rolling yet?
Yeah, rolling.
Well, what did you think of today?
Awesome.
Awesome. I love that. What did you
I thought
think?
it was cool.
Cool. Boy, that's the best words I've heard. And are you proud of America? Do you know the name of the statue that went up by any chance? What?
E for Unum.
Oh, you know it in Latin. What about you? But you know it's a statue of
Freedom.
freedom. What do you think of today?
Well, I thought it was pretty exciting because, you know, something we're always going to be able to say we were there and to see it and all that.
Would you like to be a helicopter pilot like that?
No.
Is it too scary?
Well, no, it's just too hard.
Do you know the name of that lady that's on top there?
No.
Well,
right.
tell me how you felt when you were up there, just about putting it down this time.
Well, it was interesting, and it never got intense or anything like that, and it went good.
Did you think it would go that well today?
Oh no, we knew what to expect. And you know, sometimes you look at these flying machines and they look so nice and smooth and all that, but they're just really a big bunch of shaking, rattling bolts, you know.
Yeah, we could hear that. You do a lot of practicing on this before?
Well, not on things like this. Last week we worked in Kansas City and I put up 81 pieces, but it was just different odds and ends and different things like that, because we do this for a living.
And you've had how many years? 35 years
Well, I've been
experience?
flying for 33 years, but I've been flying a sky crane. I'm in my 27th year now.
Do you find it exciting?
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up yet.
What's your next project?
We're going to work over here north of Baltimore on a Procter & Gamble factory.
What's that going to be?
It's some air conditioning units that we'll be doing.
Well, will you find that as exciting as putting up Miss Freedom?
I think so. It's got to be a little letdown tomorrow, I'm
That'd be
sure.
hard. What was your job on that?
I was a pilot in the right front seat. I was the fellow that flew it up and back for him.
Can you show us some of that? Can we just put our camera in there and you can show us a little bit?
Well, from this angle, you can see it's just the same. You can see the stick and the seat to the left seat. The right seat's the same. And we just sit in there and fly it. And, of course, the back seat, if you really want to look, is where Larry was sitting while he was doing the hookup and setting the statue. And this is where all the hard work goes on right here. You know, while we're hovering, he's sitting there actually flying the aircraft and moving it up, down, left, and right, whatever it takes to get it on the pedestal up there.
What do you think this was about your most exciting of all the different things you've lifted, or
I'd say at this point it's the pinnacle in our career. Yes.
can't top Lady Freedom, right?
It'll be a while, right?
And how many years have you been flying?
Oh, flying since 1967.
And helicopters?
Yes,
On this
helicopters. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And-
Most of us are all are Vietnam veterans.
Oh, are you all from Vietnam? Hey, super. Well, come on, say hi to all of us on Channel
John here.
Channel 10. John?
John Long, how are you today?
Great.
Well, what
And
do
you up there too?
Dave and I were up front. Yeah, what do you think of the show?
I thought it was glorious. I love America, and I think a woman being up there as freedom is about the greatest.
You bet.
Don't you?
Yes.
And what's this pilot's name?
I'm Max Evans.
Mac Evans?
I'm the one that flew it down, and I had the photography duty on this trip today in the middle seat.
Oh, you took it down.
Right.
That's great.
So this has
And
been
it's
quite
hard taking it down. It's awful.
about the same. Today it was a little windier. I think so it was a little more difficult for Larry probably putting it back up, but the procedure was the same. We tested
Were
out.
all four of you in Vietnam? Was Larry too, or just all three of you?
I'm not sure if Larry was or not.
Well, I want,
Larry was, I wasn't.
where did you fly?
I flew in the Army here in the United States.
Well, I want to thank you all for being so patriotic, and this is a great day. Anything special you want to tell us?
I'd say it's every employee at Erickson Air Crane deserves some credit for this operation today. They're all directly involved with this.
Yes, I think that Oregon's a gorgeous state, and I'm real proud you got it. And being in the private enterprise, that was very important, wasn't it?
You bet it was.
We think that so we work out here all the time, and somebody asked how often we practice. Well, we practice every weekend, almost all year round. So
Oh, really? What do you do here all the time?
we travel around the eastern half of the United States and Canada. We do rooftop work on auto plants, high-rise buildings, anything that conventional cranes can't reach. So we're busy all year round.
Well, why do you think that Erickson was chosen for this great job? Anyone want? Which one? I want the answer.
The best of what we do. There's nobody that can do what we do any better than us.
That special helicopter crane that you have. What is it called? What number?
This is called an S-64.
Are you the only one that use that? I understand it was once military, but
This one happens to be military. We have a couple other competitors in the West Coast, but we're the only company who does construction work with them. So we're sort of in a unique position here, but we think we have the best operation and the best organized here.
well, congratulations. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, God bless America.
We're happy to be done with it and hope everybody
Yeah,
else.
I love that. God bless America. Here we are on the west part of the Capitol, just finishing seeing the great Statue of Freedom put back on the top. Here we're joining a lot of the people over here picnicking, celebrating our 200th anniversary of the Capitol. People were invited to picnic here. We are now listening to the Navy Band and the beautiful singing of their soloist. And the Capitol looks absolutely glorious from this view. You can see the flags in the front. And perhaps this is the prettier side, I think. You can see the people with the balloons, children, people lying down, and all of a sudden the sun has come out, and it's really warmed up a lot since we were here early this morning.
Every man and woman, without regard to
As the President of the United States speaks,
station in life, would have the
it's so beautiful here to watch all the people celebrating our 200th anniversary of this beautiful, beautiful Capitol, the most beautiful building, and I feel, and I'm sure you feel, in the whole world.
have an equal chance.
It's a festive day. You can see everybody with their balloons, children, animals. Everyone's having a great time.
In the Great Civil War, when the Statue of Freedom was raised, many people questioned whether Abraham Lincoln should permit this work to go on, but he said during the war, when so many thought our country would come to an end, that if people see the Capitol going on, it is a sign we intend the Union.
Oh, beautiful for spacious sky.